The gospel of Jesus Christ is the solution to the woes of man. How much of it you know, determines how well you reign in life. Join us at Shepherd's Love Worldwide, opposite Top Radio, Circle Accra, as the man of God, Apostle Johnsburg, takes us through sound teaching and instruction in the Word. Shepherd's Love Worldwide,
making Christ prominent in our generation.
Shepherd of my soul, I give you full control, wherever you go.
And now, the
We are going to be unveiling Christ from the book of Ruth. You know, in the Bible, right, most of the characters you see in the Bible, you see different characters. Of course, the godly ones, they are the ones I'm talking about. The different men at different time, different women, but they all play a role that reveals and unveils or goes directly to help the plan and agenda of God, which is Jesus Christ. So you read about different men, different women in the Old Testament, but they all point to Jesus. They are a foreshadow to Christ. Because everything in the Bible is about Jesus. The main character of the scriptures is Jesus Christ. The main character, the main person. If the Bible were a movie, the main actor is Jesus. Everybody comes to play supporting roles. Jesus is the one with the lead role. So in the Old Testament, there's a statement I make all the time to you. I said the Old Testament is the New Testament concealed. And the New Testament is the Old Testament revealed. Because in the New Testament, we can now go and check the New Testament and say, okay, this is why this thing happened. An example, in the days of old, they were instructed to kill the Passover lamb and paint their doorposts with the blood of the lamb. And it was done at the Passover. He said, when I see the blood, the angel of death will be passing. When I see the blood, I'll pass over you. So all the families in Israel did that. It didn't matter what you were doing in the room. What mattered most was the blood should be on your doorpost. So that you can see, you could not put the blood there. You can say, oh, I don't have the blood there, but I'm a good guy. And you will perish. Because the instruction is simple. Put the blood on your doorpost and on your lentils. So you are saved by the blood. Now this points to Jesus, our perfect Passover. That in Christ, we are saved from all the difficulties and the challenges that should come. The challenges that comes to men. What defeats men? In Christ, there's a saving grace. You understand? So several stories, several people, but they all come to help the plan and the agenda of God. They all point to one person, and that person is Jesus. Until Jesus came, God was seen in the stories. There were like small truths about God. They are called shadows. We see, what do you need a shadow for when the real image is there? The real person is there. So these were shadows. Moses came to play a part. Now, an example, in the garden, before Jesus went to the cross, the Bible said Moses appeared to him. Elijah also appeared to him. Moses represented the law. Elijah represented the prophets. And Jesus was there. He was transfigured. Peter said, let us build houses. One for yourself, one for Moses, one for Elijah. So that everything will be okay. The Bible said that after that event, a voice came from heaven. This voice was different from the voice that spoke when John baptized Jesus. When John baptized Jesus, he said, this is my beloved son in whom I am well pleased. But when the transfiguration happened, when Moses, Elijah, and then here was Jesus, the voice said, this is my son. Hear him. Hear him. Listen to him. So, forget about the law. Forget about the prophets. This is what is on top. Listen to Jesus. That's what the Father was communicating. Now, this is the time for him. It's his time. These guys have helped at a point. They have done this at a point. But now the real man is here. The main man is here. Who is Jesus? Listen to him. So So God found a way to give his plan out. It's like God himself couldn't even keep the secrets too much. He will be giving it small. He almost gave it to Abraham. He almost gave it to Abraham that sacrifice Isaac to me. And then you find out that the guy did. I'm sure when he was going to sacrifice Isaac, he didn't tell his wife. The last time I was listening to Prophet Nasser, and then he said that he was saying that one day he didn't have a car. Somebody had blessed him with a car, but his wife was working. They bought a car for the wife, but he was blessed with a car. And then one day he heard the voice of God, give these cars on the altar when you go for service tomorrow. Hey! Not only his car and the wife's car. There's some giving is not cheerful giving. No. There's some that's the one that God will speak to you. The cheerful, that one mostly is what what you have, you are giving. One day I went for a program. Somebody had just given me a new phone. You remember that program? So new phone, like new, fresh from the box. The way the meeting was going, I just don't know. After giving my offerings and everything, I removed my SIM card and dropped the phone on the altar. You know that kind of giving, when you are going home, you are thinking, hey, I removed my SIM card and put the phone, new phone that I was given. Put it on the altar. This man remove your shirt. You gave your shirt and I gave my shoe. I gave my belt. When we closed the meeting, they brought us Chalewati. Men and brethren, one day, I'm telling you, I know I'm going to the top. So when you see me at the top by God's grace and you say, these people have gone to Benin, I'll be annoyed. I'll be annoyed because maybe you don't know the stories. This man gave his shoe. I also gave my shoe. I gave my belt. I gave my phone. Eesh. And then you came to me with your phone. You ceded your phone to me. When you gave the phone to me, the next day, I met Pastor Charles and gave him the phone. I said, can you meet me at so and so place? He said, yes. You see, there's a level you get to and God must do something. You'll be tired of maybe having 100 CD and giving 2 CD. There's a level you get, you say, no. Something, you take a risk. That kind of sacrifice, when you are going home, you are annoyed. It's like when you give it instantly, you are inspired. But when you are going home, you come to your senses and you say, boy. So long and short, the man of God said he took the wife, he said, give me your car key. The wife didn't know why. He went and dropped the car on the altar, dropped the key on the altar. And then they closed the service, they have to pick taxi home. He said they picked the taxi, they were going home. That's why you marry a godly partner. Because sometimes when you want to take a certain step of faith, your wife will say, no. Guy, it is the end of the marriage. It's the end of the road. It's the end of, so there are some givings you won't tell your partner. There are some things you do, you won't tell them else. You are seeing it faith, but you see, hey, they were in Jimmy. No. So long and short, he gave the 2 cars, they were going home in the taxis. Everybody was quiet in the taxi. Everybody was quiet. He said when they got to the house, on the bed, this one was facing east, this one was facing west. But he said on their way home, he heard from God. God said, even if you try to be poor, it's over. Even if that's the end. He said, since that day till now, he doesn't think, because at that time, even one of the cars, they have not finished, the wives they have not finished paying for it. They were paying for it monthly. You know, there are people like that, they will go for loan and be paying. There's a realm God can come in for you, and you don't need that again. You don't need now salary, but you deduct it at source. There's if God has done it before, you can do it. So he said he heard from God. He said God told him, even if you try to be poor, it's over. He said, since that day, card a set of it. I'm on for the channels. But it wasn't a pleasant thing at all that moment. So his father in the Lord had to come in. The woman went to tell the father in the Lord that he has given my car and I have to go to work, see the stress. And meanwhile, we just got one. and I've been moving around small. He said, the father-in-law said, but why? You should have given your own. Don't give your wife's own. At least your own. He said, but God told me I should give the two. Serious. So God tried that game, that not so pleasant game with Abraham. After waiting many years, you have a son now, you now say, go and give your son. But God was testing a man to see, because he wanted to unveil his plan that a time will come, this will happen. So it's not shocking that many, many years to come, where Abraham would have sacrificed Isaac, not so far from that place is where Calvary is, where Jesus was crucified. So in God's mind, a time will come, Jesus will be at this place. Let me see if man will even be willing to sacrifice everything they have, their best on the line. So in the scriptures, you will see it. Different stories, but they all come to speak of or show a part of God's plan. And one of such stories is the story of Ruth. One of such stories, a very wonderful story that speaks about the redemption that Christ has made available, made possible for us to enjoy. A story of God's providence. So it's going to be an interesting time. Just listen and follow everything we are doing. As you are listening, be attentive, like listen with all attention. Let's go. Ruth, let's read. It's not much. Chapter 1. If you have just joined us on Facebook, you are welcome to church. Now it came to pass in the days when the judges ruled that there was a famine in the land. Okay, so here's what happened. You know that God brought them out of Egypt using Moses, right? They came out of Egypt, out of slavery and bondage. And then they rebelled, and then they had to be in the wilderness for 40 years, right? And then God raised Joshua, who took them into the promised land, right? Now, after the death of Joshua, the Bible said that God gave them judges. God raised men and women who were called judges. They were not kings. This preceded the kings. You know, after the judges, the kings came. That's why we have the Chronicles. The kings came. They started reigning. Solomon came. David came. Josiah came. All these kings came. But before the kings came, there were judges. Gideon was a judge. These were strong men and women. They led them to war and all that. So you see that God will arrange the people, put a leader in front who will take them to war against maybe the Amalekites, and they will go and fight and then win. And then in that time, what was happening was that, you see, there was no order. That time, it was not a like 100% godly period. Why am I saying that? When you read the book of Judges, you will see that it's from one victory. When they win one thing, and then they will rebel again. They will bow down to Baal, the idol of Baal, and Ashtoreth, and all these idols. And then God will give their enemies the authority over them. And then they will come back again and repent. And God will give them victory. Then God will raise another judge. Like Gideon, when you remember, he said, if God is with us, why are we suffering like this? Because it was a time of suffering. Samson was a judge. Deborah was a judge. Other people, judges, people, like God raised men and women at that time. So this story or this event happened in the season or in the time of what? The judges. Let's look at something the Bible says about that time so you get it clear. Judges 17. Judges chapter 17. Let's look at verse 6. So that you have an idea what period this was. Judges 17, verse 6. In those days, that's the judges that time. In those days, there was no king in Israel. Everyone did what was right in his own eyes. That was the time of the judges. Everybody did what was what? Doesn't it speak of the times we are in? Doesn't it have a similarity? Don't you? That's why if you are a student of the Bible, you won't be shocked about many things. There are things that happen today if you say, this is what the word of God says. Because now, do what is right for you. Do what you think is right. Do what is best for you. It's not about what is best for you. It's about what God is saying. What does the word of God say? It's not do what is right for you. That was the time of the judges. Judges 21 says the same thing. Judges 21:25. Same thing. In those days, there was no king in Israel. Everyone did what was right in his own eyes. It's like the world today. It's like the world today. Oh. The conscience of many people have become seared. Seared conscience. What's right is wrong now, and wrong is right. It is absurd to say you are walking in holiness in this generation. God, you are pursuing godly character. Oh, you are Samuel. Oh, you are Joe Crado. Oh, you are John. Oh, the word of God says this. The word of God says this is what we must do. Oh, forget the word of God. Forget the word of God. That's what was happening at that time. So, in a time of chaos, because there was nobody really as a king or as Moses was to them, or as Joshua was to them, the judges came to lead them to war. After the war, when they rebel, everybody's doing their own thing. Then somebody will come and tell them you have sinned against God. Then they come back again. Then they go back again. That was the period they were in until the kings started reigning over them. So the time of the judges, Gideon, we have read about Gideon in church before. You see, he just came for a purpose to defeat the enemy, the Midianites. That's what they were doing. So that time, everyone was doing whatever they thought was right. Everyone did what was right in his own eyes. This was the time the story of Ruth was playing out. Let's go back to Ruth. So in those days, in the days when the judges ruled in Israel, a severe famine came in the land. So a man from Bethlehem in Judah left his home and went to live in the country of Moab. It's an amazing story. But in this story, you see God working his purpose out. It looked like things were not going in a certain way, but God was behind the scenes, working his purpose out, working his agenda. The agenda of God is Jesus, working his agenda out. Look, now it came to pass in the days when the judges ruled that there was a famine in the land, and a certain man of Bethlehem, Judah, went to dwell in the country of Moab. He and his wife and his 2 sons. He's saying that time there was famine, of course there was no food. And then the man and his family left Bethlehem, Judah, and went to live in Moab. You know Moab? You remember Lot? Genesis 19, Lot. After Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed, you remember that his 2 daughters, they had incest with him. They gave him alcohol to Genesis 19. Some people are looking like, what are they saying? What are they did what? What did they do? Genesis 19, I think verse 30 is a good place to read from. Verse 30. Yeah, lots. All you know is a lot. A lot. Then, so after Sodom and Gomorrah was destroyed, you remember, we recently read even the story. They came and wanted to break down his house. Give us the men, give us. And he wanted to even give them his daughters. They said, no, we want the men. Until the angels struck them with blindness. Then eventually this happened, the place was destroyed. They said the wife became a pillar of salt. Eish. Wow. Our teacher said he was there. He saw Lot's wife, he touched her body. Yeah, my teacher told me in primary, he told us. And you know, we're young people, so we believed. He said, hey, Charlie, he touched it and he held the thing. He held the salt. Amazing. Then Lot went up out of Zoar and dwelt in the mountains, and his 2 daughters were with him. For he was afraid to dwell in Zoar, and he and his 2 daughters dwelt in a cave. Now the firstborn said to the younger, our father is old, and there is no man on the earth to come in to us, as is the custom of all the earth. Now they were married. But when you read the story, the Bible says in the earlier verses, I don't know if you can find it for us, when he was telling them to flee, his sons-in-law, they thought, oh, it's a joke. It's a joke. So they got destroyed with the city. So now they were left without no husband. Can you help us, please? Just that part. Lot warned them, but they said, oh, destroy Ben. Destroy Papa Ben. I'm sure they just told you, you are hallucinating. One day I saw a vision about somebody, and I approached the person and told the guy. The reason why I even told the person was, as you are looking for it, when we were on campus, a guy died. One day I went to church and I came back. When I came back, they were holding candles, singing for the guy. I had seen the vision about the guy, but I was afraid. The kind of people he was working with, I was afraid that if I go and say, they will beat me. You know, I was now coming up. I was afraid that, hey, who can say, a crown for, and then maybe the boys, they will beat me. So I didn't say it. Eventually, the guy died. They said he went to pee at 2 a.m. and he slipped and fell. So I was feeling bad. In the bathroom, and you see how they should share the thing? 2 a.m., most people are asleep. So the person who came to see him, by that time, he was already gone. It didn't happen at the busy time where people can rush you or something. Now, when they were doing the candle light, I was sad. I saw they said the guy had died. I said, oh, I didn't even know. But I was afraid. So another time I saw a vision about somebody, and I approached the person and told the guy. When I told the guy told me point blank, you are hallucinating. So I just said, thank you. God bless you. And I just walked away. So, see, Lot went out and spoke to his sons-in-law who had married his daughters. So the daughters were married. Who had married his daughters and said, get up, get out of this place, for the Lord will destroy this city. But to his sons-in-law, he seemed to be joking. So, back to verse 31. So he told them, but they thought he was joking, so they were caught up in the destruction of the city. You get it? That's how come now they were left with no men. So they said, the firstborn said to the younger, our father is old, and there is no man on the earth to come in to us, as is the custom of all the earth. You know what that means? Next verse. Come, let us make our father drink wine, and we will lie with him, that we may preserve the lineage of our father. Next verse. So they made their father drink wine that night, and the firstborn went in and lay with her father. And he did not know when she lay down or when she arose. He didn't know, he was drunk. So the firstborn went first. I said, if you're a student of the Bible, you will see that some of the things that are happening now, it won't shock you. Oh, ABS pen. The Bible is the oldest book, yet very consistent with the times. Next verse. It happened on the next day that the firstborn said to the younger, indeed, I lay with my father last night. That's incest. Let us make him drink wine tonight also. And you go in and lie with him, that we may preserve the lineage of our father. Then they made their father drink wine that night also, and the younger arose and lay with him, and he did not know when she lay or when she arose. Okay. Thus both the daughters of Lot were with child by their father. Their father impregnated them. Next verse. But you see that because that's not in God's plan, it doesn't feature. That's not how God planned it. Because even Rahab, who was a prostitute, was in God's plan, but not like this. Not somebody's father in this. And yes, Anna or Christo. Look, the firstborn bore a son and called his name Moab. This is where the Moabites came from. He is the father of the Moabites to this day. The second one gave birth to what? The younger, she also bore a son and called his name Ben-Ami. He is the father of the people of Ammon to this day. So back to Ruth. So that's where Moabites. Moab means empty. Moab means empty. See it? It says, now it came to pass in the days when the judges ruled that there was a famine in the land, and a certain man of Bethlehem. Bethlehem is from two Hebrew words, Beth and Lahim. Beth means house. Lahim means bread. So house of bread. Bethlehem, house of bread. Now they were leaving the house of bread because there was no bread, and they were going to the world. Moab is a type of the world in this story, a type of the world. Moab means empty, 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 empty. You know how sometimes you can leave the things of God and try to be satisfied with the things in the world. That's what they were doing. Try to crave satisfaction from the world. He and the family, they left the house of God. Judah means praise. That one is very common. Judah means praise. Bethlehem, Beth, Lahim, Bethlehem, house of bread. Beth, house, Lahim, bread, house of bread. Judah, praise. He says that they went to dwell in the country of Moab. So they had left Bethlehem, and then they went to stay. The tree will say, Omoni ananafuano kotonai. This was a godless nation. The Moabites were not worshiping God. They had their god called Chemosh. In fact, the reason why, last time I was telling you that when God tells you something, you see, sometimes it may be inconvenient at the moment. So you may think, this God, why? Does he not know that? Telling me power plans. Does he not know that the way I have my own things to do, but it's like when he says something, it's because he knows the end. Now, God let them draft a rule, a law, that you will not marry a foreigner. Because the reason is that they will turn your hearts after their gods. Then Solomon came. Solomon, God appeared to you by the visions of the night and said, what do you want? He said, Mimpe bibiara, Mimpe bibiara, Mimpe bibiara, Nyansane yame, Nyansane yame. When I was young, we'll go and sit somewhere. Our school, it was like the gang madam, when we were in primary. Oh, Jesus. You sit down. Noni mi sumo, mi nye ma fe, noni mi sumo, noji noni mi fio. Noni mi sumo, mi nye ma fe, noni mi sumo, noji noni. Ewo, ma bo modini ma fe, noni. Mile ake Kristo bawa mi. Noni ma fe mayeku ni dada. And we'll just be at the back. I was part of the guys at the back. Hey. John's and cool. Amazing. Solomon, God appeared to you in the night. You say you want wisdom. You say you want wisdom. They gave you wisdom. Now people were coming to you from all over. Now Solomon started following women. Hey! Plenty wives. Plenty concubines. So and then also be per ma and then no see that. Oh. Like, you know, there are some guys, when they are talking with their friends, they feel like, yeah, oh, I clear. Oh, yeah, who will be paying? ABS paying. And we know how it ended. We know how it ended from, you see, he started very well, but the end was not good. They successfully turned his heart, like God has said, for which reason he said they should not marry foreigners. They successfully, let's look at a few scriptures. First, I want us to look at that law that talks about that. Deuteronomy 7:1 to 4. Deuteronomy chapter 7 from verse 1 to verse 4. Today is Father's Day. You know, everybody is pretending not to know. But just in case you have forgotten, I want to remind you. Lest you have forgotten. You know, I listen to radio every day. Mother's Day, even 6 weeks to the day, they are having Mother's Day promo. Mother's Day bash. Mother's so and so. Play this game and win this for the mother. Mother's Day cooking promo. Mother's Day so and so. But the Father's Day seems like everybody is just quiet and they rather play music. The guy behind the console will just play, we just release one music and then everybody's okay. When they come, they just read the news. They just read the news. And then some people said Father's Day is when they give them boxes and towels. I don't know who told them that. Boxes, towels, and singlets. Boxes, towels, oh, and singlets. Seriously. But Mother's Day, the way people carry it on their heads. They are doing this. See, I've not heard any song for fathers. Since I was born. There's no song, Sweet Father, and there's nothing. There's nothing like Father, no. When you hear somebody saying Father, it's about God. Of course, the fatherhood of God is there, but actually, he said, Father, we declare that we love you. Hey, I said, Mom. In the end, Obia quiet. Everybody like Obia, baby Obia doing that on your Father's Day. They are trying to ignore. They are trying to, but I want to remind you, lest you have forgotten, that it's Father's Day today. So celebrate the fathers in your life. Don't just celebrate them on WhatsApp. Post. Some of you, your parents, they won't even see your status, and you post them. But on a language, it's a new Choni Biami. Ona Nibie. Like was a new Choni Biami. Like not just Anna, you don't like it that way. Not just post on this one and say, oh, God bless. Yeah, God will bless us. God will bless them. God will bless everyone. But Charlie, I mean, you know their Momo numbers. Yeah. Just Momo it. Just, you know, it solves everything. You know. It makes everything nice. It makes everything simple. Because you're on the platform. You just add everything to the platform. Now, Deuteronomy 7 verse 1 to 4. Let's look at it. It says, when the Lord your God brings you into the land which you go to possess, and has cast out many nations before you, the Hittites, the Garishites, the Girgashites, and the Amorites, and the Canaanites, and the Perizzites, and the Hivites, and the Jebusites, 7 nations greater and mightier than you are. And when the Lord your God delivers them over to you, you shall conquer them and utterly destroy them. You shall make, I want to be able to tell, you shall make no covenant with them, nor show mercy to them. Next verse. Nor shall you make marriages with them, nor shall you make marriages, don't marry them. You shall not give your daughter to their son, nor take their daughter for your son. You shall not allow it. Next verse. For they will turn your sons away from following me to serve other gods. That was the reason. They would turn them from following Yahweh, and they will now be following their idols. So the anger of the Lord will be aroused against you and destroy you suddenly. Let's look at another scripture, same Deuteronomy 23 verse 3. Same Deuteronomy 23 verse 3. An Ammonite or Moabite shall not enter the assembly of the Lord. Even to the 10th generation, none of his descendants shall enter the assembly of the Lord. That's serious. He should not enter the gathering of God's people. A Moabite, no, they should not come there. Even to the 10th generation, they should not come there. None of his descendants shall enter the assembly of the Lord forever. Next verse. Because they did not meet you with bread and water on the road when you came out of Egypt, and because they hired Balaam the son of Beor from Pethor of Mesopotamia to curse you. They brought Balaam to curse you. So none of them should enter the assembly of the Lord. That's why David looked at Goliath and said, who is this uncircumcised Philistine? He thought, nonsense, and he's defiling the armies of God. Because these people were strangers. And you see, that is what makes what Jesus has done glorious. That we who were far off have been brought near. Now, truly, the Bible says we were far off. We have now been brought near. So, it's not okay for me to, after seeing this, to still sing, draw me nearer. Draw me nearer, nearer, blessed Lord, to the place where thou hast died. Draw me nearer, nearer, nearer. How near do you want to go again? When the Bible says we have been brought near by his blood. At that time, you couldn't come. Don't come to the assembly of God's people forever. But now, because of Jesus, we who were strangers, we who were aliens to the commonwealth of Israel, we are now part and parcel of the household of God. All because of his redemptive work at the cross. You understand it? So, these were the Moabites. And see what Solomon did. First Kings chapter 11 from verse 1 to verse 13. First Kings 11 verse 1. We are still looking at what? Moab. So that you understand what is really going on. First Kings 11, 1 to 13. But King Solomon loved many foreign women. He did what? Hey. That I have cooked. What? Somebody said, oh, let the children come to daddy. He said, let the girls come to daddy. He said, let the baby girls come to daddy. Let them come to daddy. There are some guys like that, every lady. It's like a sickness. Every lady, they will text the lady. They now say, oh, I'm in love with you. And then they will meet the lady. They have this lady, they have this one, they have this one. They have saved their numbers differently. Air condition guy. Mechanic. When you call, you now say, hello, bye-bye, I'll call you. Don't call me. I saw a video like that. The guy said, power to the people. We have to stop the rigging of the election and blah, blah, power to the people. He said, honorable. Because he was with a woman. But King Solomon loved many foreign women, as well as the daughter of Pharaoh. The women of the Moabites, look at the women he loved, only him. The women of the Moabites, Ammonites, Edomites, Sidonians, and Hittites. He loved all these women. Hey! God's love is so wide. Hey! The guy was serious. Like the song they used to sing. Many problems are too many problems. Bang bang. Many guys are changing over me. Bang bang. That and Lady Becky and Co were not born. Lady Maureen, you were not born. Lady Irene, you don't know what it is. God, you were doing BDT. You don't know. Lady Elisa, you were not born. You were not born. Now you're home yet. Your time. I'm sure many years to come, there are people who will tell their children that COVID, lockdown, hey, the way soldiers were shooting into their homes. And I'm sure that's what some of our parents were doing. Some of the things they may have told us were true, but they will add one or two editing. They will add one or two things. So I'm sure some of you will tell your children that, hey, COVID time, you're really Tiberias, hey, you're my lockdown that time. We say now we need you need for 1 month. Intimate brother haba in America. Now me say, 1 month, hey, untumin come be but you know we were doing things. We were doing things. That time, now that's the thing. Oh, Tony be like. But King Solomon loved many foreign women, as well as the daughter of Pharaoh, women of the Moabites, Ammonites, Edomites, Sidonians. We just read that Ammon is the brother of Moab, the cousin, the sisters. Sidonians and Hittites, next verse. From the nations of whom the Lord has said to the children of Israel, you shall not intermarry with them, nor they with you. Surely they will turn away your hearts after their gods. Solomon clung to these in love. To cling to something, it means that with two career, it's like he has stuck from the anta to the what? Stigma. Yeah, that's what he had done. He had clung to it. He had clung to the thing. But God has said, you see, God knows the end from the beginning. Sometimes it may look like, why is God denying me something or what? Is he denying me my youth or what is going on? But the reason was this, that they would turn your hearts. They would turn your hearts. David took somebody's wife, Uriah's wife, and God said, I gave you Saul's daughters. I gave you everybody. If you needed another wife, tell me. Hey, why did you go and kill the guy and take the wife? And now the wife is pregnant. When Nathan came and put the prophecy in a story format, the king got up and said, the person must be killed. He said, two people had a land, but the rich guy used Takashi to take the poor man's land and take everything that belongs to him. As a king, what is your judgment in this matter? He said, the person who did that must be killed. Nathan said, you are the person. You are the person. He said, Solomon clung to this in love. Hey. Next verse. You that requested wisdom, and God gave you. Look at this. And he had 700 wives. And he had 700 wives. I'm sure somebody's listening to me and saying, well, I only have 3. I'm sure somebody's listening. I'm sure somebody say, oh, man of God, send me the 3. 3 Solomon crying at 700, 3. Me obey 600 and him. Me check the difference now. I can't bear 690 and he cry. It means that 700 women, it means that if Solomon were to lie with one woman a day, you need about 2 years and a half to come back to the same woman. Because every day one. Every day one. I wonder how he was keeping in touch with them. His phone will blow up if it's time to pay school fees. I'm sure pay school fees, all these people, I'm sure his phone will blow up. I'm sure. They now call him. A stress. Oh, people who have gone to it, they tell man of God, it's a stress. Because you have to lie to this person. You have to lie to this one. And when you lie, you have to keep lying to cover another lie. You have to lie, you have to do this. Oh, some guys have got married and then they found out. They said, oh no, it's my sister. It's my sister. Somebody, one on the radio, one lady said the guy lied to her that he married another lady. When she found out, they were still dating. Now everything was normal. When she found out, he said, no, they had a distant cousin who is in the US, who is getting married and he couldn't be around, so they asked him to stand in. They asked him to stand in, and he went to do it. Hey! Serious, oh. I'm sure maybe you are sitting here, you are thinking you are number one, but if you are not order two. If you are not, maybe I order no. Look, and he had 700 wives, princes, and 300 concubines. It means that the wife 700 crying was still not okay. He still needed 300 side chicks. And his wife, look at this. And his wives turned away his hearts. This is what God was against. His wives turned away his heart. Look at verse 4. Solomon that began with God. The temple, David wanted to build the temple. He got all the materials. But God said, you won't build it. Your son will build it. Solomon came and built it. Everything was glorious. They sang. The Shekinah glory filled the temple. That day, everything was awesome. Solomon walked with God. Suddenly, women. Brother, some of you have to check your heart. You have to check your heart in the area of women. Check your heart. Check your heart. Because if you grow, you may not fulfill your calling. You may destroy your own self because of 3 minutes. 3 minutes or 10 minutes pleasure. Then one day they are all over the internet. There's false accusation for that also. Of course, people can come and accuse you falsely. But brothers, Johnny wanamomu ta. One woman is enough. One woman is enough. If you know that you don't love her, why are you going to marry? Even himself, baby, I say, home pen. I don't go say name. Don't, no, but Obian for you. Nowadays, the people who, our generation, the way people are getting divorced, Obi for someone. And the way some of them are cheating. You say, I didn't, yes, she must say, worry, the guy is wearing the ring like this, but he's boldly tell, oh, my wife is at home, and oh, let's just hang out. And you see, some ladies, oh, they are okay. They say, oh, he has it, but then they have followed you, they have taken you to a break. When you go to a break, weekends, you see them at the top. They say they are jogging. When you go prayer mountain, you know, no, when you are descending in the night also. Recently, I went to Koforidia. We're coming. When we go to the top, in the night, they said they go and drive and sit there and chat. They said the view is nice. They said the view is nice. And they are on top there. You can see young, you can just know these are university girls. You can just know. Anyway, he said, for it was so, when Solomon was old, that his wives turned his heart after other gods, and his heart was not loyal to the Lord his God. His heart departed from Yahweh, as was the heart of his father David. It was not like David his father. Next verse. For Solomon went after Ashtoreth, the goddess of the Sidonians, and after Milcom, The abomination of the Ammonites. Sometimes when a guy has changed, is either the wife or the girlfriend or the mother. Oh, serious. 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 We have had even men of God. Their wives will change them. When you go home, what your wife tells is different from what you say in church. At home on the bed, now say, why will you do this? There are pastors who have been transferred. That's transfer. Stop it. The issues is as caused. I'm not going. Go alone. They say, you mean I should go? No, I won't go. The wife will say, oh, you are on your own. So some of them, the pressure, they now have to resign or do something else or leave. When you want to go hard, do an assignment. No. That's not the kind of family I envisioned. You know, they envision fairy tale families. You watch too many movies, so you are thinking, oh, he'll be at home. When you are hungry, then he goes to bring you ice cream. When you are this, then he's bringing the tray. When you are going here, then he's opening the car door. When you are doing this, he's bringing you drink. When you are there, he now comes, my love. Unless you marry somebody who is visionless. Unless you marry somebody who is visionless. Who doesn't have anything to do. Then every day he has put you on his WhatsApp. Yeah, there are people like that. Every day they have put video of this. They are only vision, like only the echo. In common, like in common, didn't pay D1. Like after the world and things. Like I need you to do because there is no time. Oh, am I saying I'm married? Yeah. But you see, there's purpose. Charlie, there's nothing like living in this world and finding your purpose and doing it. Doing it, prevailing in it, continuing in it. Unless this movies you watch, the marriages you see, and every time they are there, hello baby, hello this, hello. If you marry somebody who carries the destiny of other people in his hands, the time will come, you will see that you have not seen him for 1 week. You have not seen him for 2 days. You have seen him on the phone. You have called him, video call and all that, but you know he's doing this here. He's doing this thing here. He's doing this. Like we leave the house and come and pray here at night. You see me online that I'm praying. I'm praying. It's a risk. You know, every evening I'm leaving the house. Every evening I'm leaving the house. I'll come back midnight. And what she does to help me is to open the gate. But elsewhere, somebody will say, this is not the kind of marriage I'm envisioning, the marriage that, oh, we have done this, we are here, we are on top of the hills. We are doing this, not marriage that, oh, you are opening gates. Opening gate at 12 midnight. When I should be sleeping. Oh, every day church. Every day church. Every day church. Every day God said. Every day let's pray. Yeah. So there are some ladies like that in their hearts, the man of God or somebody on a path, somebody on pursuing a, they don't know. They want, the guy who just opened the car door, you hear Yahoo, oh, Yahoo, Yahoo, oh, some ladies are like that. They'll be open to tell you that, oh, all this, no. Because you see, where there is seriousness, where there is order, everybody will go in a certain line. We have to do this. We are doing this. It's not yes, no, we are doing it. So some don't like it. So they want, oh, Charlie, everything goes. Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday, Sunday and so Sunday ne ededa. Sunday and opa ne ededa. Area yakodi emutu. May God help us. Amen. But you know, when we stand before Jesus, it will be what he asks us to do. What he asks us to do. You know, the amazing thing is that when you stay on the path he has called you to stay on, you will see that after some time, The people who thought, oh, this, they all come back and see, Charlie, this is it. This is it. In Radisha, when you're in Zambia, you will know that. Pastor Chris said when they were being serious with ministry in those days, people thought, oh, it's youthful exuberance. Oh, students, yeah. But now, after many years, after over 30 plus years, when their names are all over the world, everywhere, doing the things of God mightily, you go like, wow, we saw it. What did you see? What did you see? So because of that, there are ladies, when they see that you're a pastor, they say they can't marry you. They don't like that because they don't see themselves waking up to pray. It doesn't see herself like, hey, no. It means that our home, people may visit our home anytime. I don't like that. I want to go on vacation with you. You are also counseling people. You have to meet people. So that when I come to church and I close, I have to now talk to people before I'll go home. Then there are some people, when they come, it's 1 hour talk, 30 minutes talk. And you are doing your work. That's the time. That's the work you are doing. And some of them will even burden you with their issues. Burden you. Like total burden. So it's very important. He said the burden is light. So it's very important. It's very, very important. But in our brother's case, brothers, look, he went after Ashtoreth, the goddess of the Sidonians, and after Milcom, the abomination of the Ammonites. Solomon did evil in the sight of the Lord. Solomon, you that began well. You see, it's not those days when we were serving. How about now? Those times. How about now? Solomon, and did not fully follow the Lord. Like some of you have been telling you, don't be one leg out, one leg in. You are either out or you are in. You can't be like this. You are at this time. He did not fully follow the Lord, as did his father David. David followed the Lord fully. Look, next verse. Then Solomon built a high place for Chemosh, the abomination of Moab, the idol of Moab. Solomon built a temple for it. Solomon, you that built a multi-million-dollar temple for God. Now see what he was doing. Because of what? Women. They turn his heart. He followed foreign women. They turn his heart. So it's very important, brothers. You may think, oh, as for me, it's not as for you. That's Look, then Solomon built a high place for Chemosh, the abomination of Moab, on the hill that is east of Jerusalem. And for Molech, he built another one for another idol called Molech, the abomination of the people of Ammon. Next verse. And he did likewise for all his foreign wives. Every wife he had, he built an altar for their idol. Solomon, who burned incense and sacrificed to their gods. Solomon was now a chief partner in idolatry. Chief partner. You that began with God. Next verse. So the Lord became angry with Solomon because his heart had turned from the Lord God of Israel, who appeared to him twice. Next verse. And had commanded him concerning this thing, that he should not go after other gods. But he did not keep what the Lord had commanded. Verse 11. Therefore the Lord said to Solomon, because you have done this, and have not kept my covenant and my statutes, which I have commanded you, I will surely tear the kingdom away from you, and give it to your servant. Solomon. You see that God raised up Josiah in 2 Kings 23. 2 Kings 23. 2 Kings. So we have seen what Moab is all about. Moab is predominantly an idolatry place. I said it's a picture of the world. It's a symbol of the world. See, they left the house of bread, going to look for satisfaction in the place of idolatry. You get a point? 2 Kings 23, I think verse 13 or so should help us. 2 Kings 23. There was a king. Josiah was very young. Josiah was 8 years old when he became king. 8-year-old boy became king. His name was Josiah. It tells you that God, long time, he has not started with age. 8-year-old boy was reigning over everybody. There were elderly people there, but they have to, when he's passing, they say, long live the king. Look at Josiah. Look at what he did. Then the king defiled, this Josiah, defiled the high places that were east of Jerusalem, which were on the south of the mount of corruption, which Solomon, king of Israel, had built for Ashtoreth, the abomination of Sidonians. What he's saying is that Josiah destroyed these temples. That's why I say he defiled it. He destroyed it. For Chemosh, the abomination of the Moabites. So that was their national god. Chemosh. They left the place of bread and went to the place. So I said it's like sometimes you take a decision which is contrary to God's word. You know in your heart. And you are craving satisfaction from things in the world. You say, the problems are too much. Let me just go to the world and see. Maybe I'll be fine. It's just a little, after all. Give what belongs to Caesar to Caesar. Or you may have a friend who say, oh, why not try this? Let's come back to Ruth. So there was famine and they sought to go to a place like that, Moab, where there is idol worship. That's where they were living. Look at this. He and his wife and his 2 sons, verse 2. We have now understood the times, that in that time everybody was doing their own thing. It was what was right in your eyes. They were not following the law again. What you like is what you do. The name of the man was Elimelech. Elimelech means God is my king. Elimelech. Ela Melech. God is my king. Elimelech. The name of his wife was Naomi. Naomi means sweet or pleasant. Sweet or pleasant. Elimelech. It means God is my king. Naomi, sweet or pleasant. And the names of his 2 sons were Mahlon. Mahlon means sick. Mahlon, it means sick. Why would you give birth to a child and call him sick? I said Moab means empty. So they left a place of satisfaction of bread, going to look for satisfaction in a place of what? Emptiness. It's a picture of the world. Mahlon is sick. He had 2 sons, Mahlon and Chilion. Chilion means weak, like I am weak. I don't know, maybe the circumstance of their birth, I don't know. You know, some people can name children based on how they were born. You remember that Phinehas, one of Eli's sons, called Phinehas. He had 2 sons, Hophni and Phinehas. You remember that when the Ark of the Covenant was taken and Israel was defeated, their father was sitting on a chair one afternoon. And somebody ran and came and said, they have seized the Ark of the Covenant. And your 2 sons have died. He said, Phinehas' wife gave birth prematurely. And named the child Ichabod. Ichabod. What a curse. Ichabod. He named the child Ichabod. Because of the circumstance. If Jacob had not intervened, Benjamin was named Benoni, the son I bore in pain. And Jacob changed his name to Benjamin, the son of my joy. The son of my joy. Fathers are very important too. The son of my joy. If Zachariah didn't speak out, they would have given John the Baptist a family name, which was contrary to God's plan. But they asked him, what is it? He wrote it and he said, his name is John. They would have given him some Zerubbabel. But his father was alive. He became dumb because the angel had made him dumb. He wrote the name on a paper, and then suddenly he had the speech. His tongue was loose. He said his name is John. They would have given him another. He said, and they thought, we don't have a relative with that name. So why this name? They would have given him one name of their grandfather. You know, there are some families like that. When a child is born, they say, some of your parents put pressure, give the name. Give the name of Ejeku. Fanitu of Ejeku. Fanitu Siwa. Fanitu say. I don't know, but because of God's word, many edin. Because of God, iradi jubane, iradi asem. Ama many edin. There are some things you can't even tell me. You can think in your mind. But imagine that me, then coming that name your baby or your child be this. Oh, how? Because of what? Because what has happened? Like, why? You can put it in a suggestion, but at the end of the day, iradi they to them. They waka. If you see the child, you can mention that name, but make sure I'm not around. But there are some places who do this. Oh, so the name of the man was Elimelech. The name of his wife was Naomi. I said Elimelech means God is my king. Naomi means pleasant or sweet. And the names of his two sons were Mahlon and Chilion. Mahlon means sick. Chilion means weak. Ephratites of Bethlehem, Judah. And they went to the country of Moab and remained there. Because there was what? Famine. So probably they had heard there was food in Moab. And they went there. Next verse. Then Elimelech, Naomi's husband, died. And she was left, and her two sons. So it means that the husband died, and now all she had was her two sons. You understand? Now, in ancient Israel, there's a practice, there's a term that they mention is widow, and widow indeed. Even some Greeks practice that up to now. So there's a difference between a widow and then a widow indeed. A widow is someone who has lost their husband but still has family. And then widow indeed is someone who has lost their husband and lost their family. So see, he says, at this time she was a widow. She still had her two sons. Next verse. Now they took wives of the women of Moab. I'm very sure why this thing happened at this time, after their father died. I'm sure their father would not have allowed, knowing what we have just read. Knowing what we have just read, that don't take foreign women. I'm sure. You know, I'm sure if their father was alive and they said they were going to take wives of the women of Moab, the father would have said, nonsense, despicable. Try it and I'll disown you. I'm very sure. So they waited when the man was going to say, oh look. Oko. It happened after their father died. Because you see, that time, not the law, they knew it. Their father would have said, no way, not in this house. We are living in Moab, but it does not give you the right to marry any of them. And then come the Ubeko Akoma Zipura. Enoch Bano. Those times they were marrying from their families. So you have a distant cousin. You know, so you know the brother, so and so, they should go and bring the person. It's not like our time. We are charting a course that has not been charted before. But still we are having problems. We are walking in a certain way that we think is the best, but still, those times they just go and call the lady and bring the lady and so, and go and see the parents. And everything is okay. And it lasted. Now you go to places, you can go everywhere, do this together. Some people, it looks like they were enjoying when they were in their relationship than when they were married. 1 year, 6 months, they have come, the man of God, I want to divorce. Man of God, I want to divorce. I don't even know what pushed me to enter this thing. Maybe you see wedding pictures a lot on Instagram. And you see the women holding the bouquet and whatever, they're fun. So you think, oh, it's giving, it's giving. And you are thinking, oh God, I really want to be in this position. So anybody comes around, they now promise you marriage. Oh, easy. Easy, easy. You say you marry me. They have not married you. Every weekend you go and cook. Every weekend you go and cook, or you clean. You are washing. You are doing this. You can't because you say you are in love. Have a jigua. A jigua, you want it to jugu on all of us. When we are eating, you don't understand why we are eating when you are crying. Look, now they took wives of the women of Moab. So obviously, if their dad was alive, he would not have allowed it. He would have said no. Because it was clear, don't marry these foreigners. Don't marry them. But their father was not there, so they just, mommy can't do anything. Mommy would just say, oh, kuku jai, oh, jai. And so, then they just allow them. It's like some grandparents. If you leave your children with some grandparents, they may mess them up. Because they give them free will. Anything they should do it. Anything. So they are always in a hurry to go for vacation. With their because in their house it looks like the Tower of Babel. You have built the Tower of Babel around them. You have built a stronghold. Now, it says, the name of the one was Orpah, and the name of the other was, the name of the other Ruth. So these were the two women, Orpah and Ruth. And they dwelt there about 10 years. When you read the Old King James, you see that the whole plan, can we have the Old King James? They were going to short stay, not to stay there fully. Like how you can get yourself into something, so let me just do this. Later I'll come and do what really God wants me to do. I'll be back. Let me just go and do this small. By the time you see, you have been there 20 years. Some people have gone abroad like that. Oh, let me just go and do, 1 year, I'll be back, I'll come. That they are now caught in the web of getting money. Every week. Oh, Ghana is not like that. Oh, I don't know, but when you take 10 people who travel abroad, 8 of them will lose their fervency if they had any. 8 of them, 8 out of 10. I don't know whether there's something there that does not, like Abrochirenya may so many different. I don't mean Kobe that, so I don't know. I don't know. Look. Oh. Okay, we are using a lot of time, so let me just read the New King James verse 4. I just wanted us to see from verse 1, you would have seen that their plan was to sojourn. That's to short stay. But they ended up staying what? 10 years. 10 years is not short stay. It means they were now here for too long. A whole decade. Aha. Oh, New King James. Verse 5. Then both Mahlon and Chilion also died. And so the woman survived her 2 sons and her husband. So now she lost the husband, she lost her children, her 2 sons. So now I said she's now what? A widow indeed. A widow is one that, in those days, a widow is one that has just lost the husband but still has family. But a widow indeed is one that has lost husband and family. Now she lost her children. It was just their wives that was there. Next verse. Then she arose with her daughters-in-law, that she might return from the country of Moab. For she had heard in the country of Moab that the Lord had visited his people by giving them bread. The famine was what? Over in Jerusalem, in Bethlehem. She had heard that God had visited them with bread. So she thought, let's go back. Next verse. Therefore she went out from the place where she was. And now in those days, before we continue, there was a practice when it comes to marriage. There was a practice. It was called the levirate law of marriage. The levirate law of marriage. Now this is how the law works. Before we read the scripture, this is how the law works. If there is an older brother and then he has a younger brother. What happens is that when the older brother marries and he dies without having children, the younger brother will take over. He will take the wife and then make sure that he gives birth to preserve the name of his older brother. It's called the levirate law of marriage. Let's read that. Deuteronomy 25, verse 5 to 10. Deuteronomy 25, verse 5 to 10. In this case, this law couldn't be applied because the two of them were dead. But if the older one had died and the younger one is still alive, you would have said, so I'm sure those times, maybe some of them, if they see the woman their older brother has married and she's on points, they will not say, guy, go, yeah. I'm sure they just say coded like, Charlie, guy. The way your wife is on point, Charlie. Look sharp now. But if she's not on point, you say, guy, better not try to die. You say, Kakazoka tried. Kakazoka tried, dead. King Fadi. Look at this. If brothers dwell together and one of them dies and has no son, the widow of the dead man shall not be married to a stranger outside the family. Her husband's brother shall go in to her, take her as his wife, and perform the duty of a husband's brother to her. This was the levirate law of marriage. So you're not going to marry another person. And so, no, send me no. Next verse. And it shall be that the firstborn son which she bears will succeed the name of his dead brother, that his name may not be blotted out of Israel. So automatic, you give the dead person's name to the first son, but the wife will be your wife. Next verse. But if the man does not want to take his brother's wife, then let his brother's wife go up to the gate to the elders and say, my husband's brother refuses to raise up a name to his brother in Israel. He will not perform the duty of my husband's brother. Next verse. Then the elders of his city shall call him and speak to him. But if he stands firm and says, I do not want to take her, then his brother's wife shall come to him in the presence of the elders, remove his sandal from his foot, spit in his face, and answer and say, so shall it be done to the man who will not build up his brother's house. Next verse. And his name shall be called in Israel, the house of him who had his sandal removed. I'm sure this was a shame back then, so you don't want it. So you just, because as you are spitting on your face, removing your sandal, no. News, and they'll start calling you the house of him who had his sandal removed. It was a shame, so you just accept. This was called the levirate law of marriage. But in this case, it could not be applied because two of them were dead. Let's continue the story. Same Ruth, where we are. Can we go quickly? Therefore, she went out from the, she had heard that God had visited them. So she went out from the place where she was, and her two daughters-in-law with her, and they went on the way to return to the land of Judah. Next verse. And Naomi said to her two daughters-in-law, go, return to each other's house. Return each to her mother's house. The Lord deal kindly with you, as you have dealt with the dead and with me. Remember, they were Moabites. Remember, they were from the country of Moab. They were foreign women that the two sons married. Now they are no more. So he says, go back to your country. Let me also what? Go back to my, after all, there's nothing between us again. You understand? He says, the Lord deal kindly with you, as you have dealt kindly with the dead and with me. Next verse. The Lord grants that you may find rest, each in the house of her husband. So she was telling them, go, feel free, go and marry again. I'm sure you are going to find good guys from Moab who will marry you. So I pray that God will give you rest in your husband's house. Look, so she kissed them and they lifted up their voices and wept. Next verse. And they said to her, surely we will return with you to your people. The two of them said it. We will return with you to your people. Next verse. But Naomi said, turn back, my daughters. Why will you go with me? Are there still sons in my womb that they may be your husbands? Remember the leverage law of marriage. My age, are there still sons in my womb? Next verse. Turn back, my daughters. Go, for I am too old to have a husband. If I should say I have hope, if I should have a husband tonight and should also bear sons, would you wait for them till they were grown? How long? Were you going to wait 20 years before you marry them and fulfill this law? Would you restrain yourselves from having husbands? No, my daughters, for it grieves me very much for your sakes that the hand of the Lord has gone out against me. You know, she knew the law that they should not marry foreigners. So she thought their family was going through this hard time because of that. She thought the hand of the Lord had what? Gone against her. You know, to her, things were not going well. But little did she know that behind the scenes, God was working his purpose out. Little did she know that God was working what looked like a mess. God was working his purpose out. Because she thought, you can feel it from what she just said. Because of you, the hand of the Lord had gone out against me. But it wasn't so. At the end of the teaching, you will see that it wasn't so at all. So humanly may look like things are not working, but behind the scenes, God is working his plan out. You may be here, you may be thinking like that. But it looks like my life, I'm not seeing anything. I'm not really man of God. I'm not seeing this. The children died, the husband died. Oh, she was now saying maybe because of you guys. Because we associated ourselves by virtue of marriage. This is what has happened to our family. The Lord has brought his hand out against us. But it wasn't so. Next verse. Because look, of all the families in Israel, why would God dedicate a whole place in the book to this family? If their role was not important in the plan of God. So it looked like, things are not working, but Asoma, it was part of the plan. Then they lifted up their voices and wept again. And Orpah kissed her mother-in-law, but Ruth clung to her. Next verse. And she said, look, your sister-in-law has gone back to her people and to her gods. So Orpah did what? She left. Ruth stayed. So more than the decision of being with a man, there was a higher decision of choosing whom to serve. More than being, or more than making a decision of being with a man, which she was saying, I don't have a husband here. Even if I have one, when will you guys wait till I get a son? Go back and be with your husband. So more than finding a partner was a higher decision of worship. Who to worship? Who to worship? Moab represents what? Idol worship. And here in Jerusalem is where they worship the true God. And then there are two people saying, we'll go with you. Suddenly one just goes back. He says she has gone back to her people and to her gods. Look at this. The next verse will say it clearer. She has gone back to her people and to her gods. Return after your sister-in-law. She was telling Ruth, go back. Follow her. Orpah is gone. Go. Next verse. But Ruth said, entreat me not to leave you or to turn back from following after you. For wherever you go, I will go. And wherever you lodge, I will lodge. Your people shall be my people and your God my God. It was also a decision of worship. I will worship Yahweh. She knew Chemosh. When you read about it, this God was a terrible God. Chemosh. Sometimes they even appease him with their babies in fire. As they are setting, you put your baby in the fire to appease the God. Chemosh, terrible. That's why he mentioned the abomination of Chemosh, of the people of Moab. Abomination of Moab. It's an abomination. But the first one, she was okay. She just opened. When she was saying, I'll go with you, I'll go say, You know, there are some people like that, they can make a decision because everybody is saying it. Everybody saying, oh, I will do it, I will do it, I will do it, I will do it. But Nakume Mupadi. But this lady, he said, no way. Don't tell me to go back. Your people will be my people, your God will be my God. The song they used to sing, this is what they got to, entreat me not to leave you, because I have no other friend. Na 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 na. When you die, I will die. Look at this. For wherever you go, I will go. And wherever you lodge, I will lodge. Your people shall be my people, and your God my... So it was also a decision. Will you serve idols or you serve Yahweh? Will you serve idols? Oprah went back to her idols. This one said, no, the true God will be my God. The true God will be... Let's continue. We are starting now, so just relax and enjoy as we do the teaching. Where you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. The Lord do so to me and more also, if anything but death parts you and me. I am also sure, knowing how people can talk, if they were to go back to Jerusalem together and they find out this is a Moab woman you are yoked with, I'm sure they'll be talking, hey, unkai Moses imransem no. Say any ananafo no worry na wakwakoche oyewode was me bani niyiri. Hey! So I'm sure that was also part of she trying to go back. Go back. Because nipa kasa. Now say okoya o ba oni Moab for ni mani bi na aba. Hey! Already she herself was feeling bad about it. She was thinking, God has turned his hand against me. And to let someone like this follow you. And you are entering the town through the main gate, and everybody's watching. Look at Naomi. She's coming back with a strange woman. Which woman is that? I don't remember she having a daughter. And she just went for 10 years. So 10 years, obviously, the age of this girl will be more than 10 years. So who is she to her? We know her family. Her family is here. We know her. We don't know this one. Then she now explain, oh, my son, he's dead. That's the wife. Where is she from? Moab. Moab? So it was also part of she telling, go back, don't go back. Because you there, we have your names in our book that we should not be with you. Go back. And you see, remember we read the first one. He said, a Moabite should not enter the assembly of God's people forever. Here she was coming to join God's people. She was coming to join God's people. But it was part of God's plan. Ruth was... You know, there are people who name their children Ruth. And then Hebrew for you. You can see. It's not a Hebrew name. It's a Moabite name. You can see it. You can see it for yourself. In the Bible, there are two women with books who did something like that. There was Ruth. Ruth we are reading about. She was let me say, there's a word I want to use. There's a word. Oh, there's a word we use all the time. Okay, so let me just say, she was an unbeliever. She was of the world. And she's coming to marry or be with God's people. And then we have Esther, who was a Jewish person marrying a foreigner. And God recorded stories about these two people in the Bible. Because it helped the plan of God. They said the Moabites should not come to the assembly of God's people forever, even to the 10th generation. But here she was. So I'm sure the woman, when she was going, she was feeling bad. They'll start, these people, they'll start talking. I know them. They'll say, hey, what have I brought? The abomination. As a Dimechi. And I'm sure she'll be holding her bag and things. Hey, hey. If that time it was very serious. Jesus asked the Samaritan woman for water. You didn't hear what she said. She said, what business? What business do we have that you are asking me for? That's how serious it was. That's the picture you should get. It was a big deal. Like, hey, what Obasa wareno? Okay, warene radia ya dom na obani na we wua. Also had the hey, because I'm sure they had given birth, they would have said, hey, wako one and anybody never have a share in them. And an anybody never have a share and them. By Radia, I don't know we don't want to be at the Hona Ubani Woodina. Was one when Danny Clam and Uncle Fio was an Naba. I did not hear that they are an abomination. Look, let's continue. Next verse. When she saw that she was determined to go with, so I'm sure she was trying to stop her because of all these things. But when she saw that she was determined to go with her, she stopped speaking to her. Next verse. Now the two of them went until they came to Bethlehem. Imagine the journey. They were walking. Everybody was silent. The woman was thinking, hey, me do her pana. We are assemble problem crabbing. But the Ruth too was happy that I'm going to serve Yahweh. I'm going to Bethlehem. Probably her husband has been speaking of that place, singing songs from that place, because you can see from the scriptures there were people like that. When they gather, they sing songs, they talk about God. In Babylon, they asked them to sing the Lord's song. They said, no, how can we sing the Lord's song in a strange land? Look, the two of them went until they came to Bethlehem. And it happened when they had come to Bethlehem that all the city was excited because of them. And the women said, I'm sure when they came, the men were on the fields working. I'm sure when they came, I'm very sure when they came, the men were on the fields. It's not our time I'm talking about, so please allow me to preach. When they came, I'm sure the women were doing their chores. Some were gathered at the marketplace, kokonsa and all that. Amidst selling. Plenty kokonsa with a little selling. Some were fetching water here and there. Some were doing this. Some were doing all of that. It was the women. The men were going for war. And some were planting their vineyards. So he said, the women said, is this Naomi? Next verse. But she said to them, do not call me Naomi, call me Mara. Naomi means was sweet or pleasant. Mara means bitter. Because she thought I have bitter experiences. My husband, I went full, I've come empty. My husband is dead. My children are dead. Why are you still calling me sweet? Why are you call me bitter? Mara means bitter. Call me bitter. Look, he says, call me Mara, for the Almighty has dealt very bitterly with me. She didn't know that God was about to write a new story. You know, humanly, on the physical, on the face value, she thought, oh, Charlie, I went out empty. I went out full, and I've come empty and disgraced and ashamed. But she didn't know that she was actually now coming full. Yes. Or about to be made into something. Because you see that eventually, you will see that eventually out of this, Obed will come. And out of Obed, Jesse will come. Out of Jesse, David will come. And out of the lineage, Jesus will come. From this. From this. So she thought, call me bitter. Don't call me Naomi, which is sweet. Call me Mara. So you may think the experiences of my life, Pastor, as you are preaching me, the experiences I have, I'm not me. The life, oh, Charlie, things are not working. Who told you? Behind the scenes, God is preparing something. God is working. Next verse. I want to close. Our time is almost up. Look, I went out full, and the Lord has brought me home again empty. Why do you call me Naomi, since the Lord has testified against me, and the Almighty has afflicted me? She was so bitter. She was so hurt. She lost her husband. She lost her children. Next verse. So Naomi returned, and Ruth the Moabitess, remember, her daughter-in-law with her, who returned from the country of Moab. Now they came to Bethlehem at the beginning of the barley harvest. When they came, it was harvest time. It was harvest time. There was a relative of Naomi's husband, a man of great wealth, of the family of Elimelech. His name was Boaz. Let's stop here. Next week we'll continue. We'll talk about Boaz. And remember, they came at the harvest. So you can write in your book, gleaning. 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 I-N-G, gleaning, or the law of gleaning. Gleaning. And you can write Boaz. 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 From next week, we'll continue with this. It's going to be an interesting story. I believe you have been blessed. Boaz. Boaz is a picture of Jesus, our heavenly Boaz. He's a rich guy. They just say rich relative. We'll see what he did. So let the suspense be in your head. Amen.